Hey everyone, welcome back to the Gray Matters podcast. I'm your host, Josh Perry.
And I'm also your host, Jackie Lauricella.
So technically this is episode 2 of the Gray Matters podcast. The previous episode was the first, and it was the welcome/intro to the podcast, which is ultimately an introduction to our minds and our lives. And today we wanted to start off by sharing our story, how Jackie and I met, how our relationship has developed from where it started to where it is now, hopefully where it is going in the future. I should not say hopefully, where it is going.
A love story.
Something like that.
How it came to be.
And really, we're going to start in 2010, where we both were in different places and different physical locations.
That's
and really just kind of how our lives shifted and how our lives crossed paths later down the road, which you'll find out how long later on that was.
So 2010, that was the year I graduated high school. And I specifically remember, and which is crazy thinking about what Josh was going through at a similar time. I was graduating high school and I was simultaneously at a state qualifier for a Taekwondo event to go to nationals. And I had just got done traveling to Spain for like another U.S. national team, and I was feeling great. And there was some big changes in my life, like deciding where I was going to move, but all of my choices kind of centered around Taekwondo. They didn't really center around school. Like, I wasn't one of those kids where I was just like, oh, I'm going to this 4-year university. Like, I honestly didn't know where I was even going to be living until June or July after I graduated high school. Like, I just knew that I was going to school. I knew it was going to be at like a state or community college because it was paid for with a scholarship that I had. And I knew I was going to continue training. I just didn't know where. Where were you in 2010?
You left out a lot of stuff. Training for what, and where were you living? What state?
Oh, I was in Florida, and I was training to be U.S. national team member for Taekwondo. I thought I kind of alluded to that a
So
little
maybe we
bit.
should introduce kind of who we are and what we do now, where we were in 2010 with that aspect. Maybe we do that?
Yeah, that's fine. Currently, we live in Apex, North Carolina. I am an athletic trainer, and for about 15 years, I competed and trained in the martial art of Taekwondo, like cross-trained in a bunch of stuff. And then I competed very, very heavily during those 15 years. So from the time I was 8 to like 22, I was just kicking people in the face.
So there's that context of why you were going to Spain.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I said Taekwondo a whole bunch, didn't I?
Did you? I think you did.
So. I don't know. I feel like I mentioned it. People were like, oh.
Maybe we'll listen to this later.
She's like going to Spain and like breaking boards.
Maybe
like,
this is the transparency of a relationship and listening skills that we're working on.
Oh my God.
But yeah, let's see. So I am a former professional BMX athlete, and Jackie did not put her phone on Do Not Disturb.
No, that was your phone. My phone is on Do Not Disturb.
I am corrected.
Oh.
It is on Do Not Disturb now.
My phone is over there and on Do Not Disturb.
Well, let's see. I'd like to get you to like describe what I do today, but it's always like a struggle for me when people ask, which I'm getting clear about now. But let's see. Professional BMX athlete, formerly, multiple brain tumor survivor, health coach, specialized in the ketogenic diet, speaking. I'm now a public speaker, officially 1 year now. And technically, this is a mindset shift for me. I have to get over this word because I do not like it just because of what it's become today. But I'm an influencer.
He does it for the gram all the time.
Yeah,
Always doing it for the gram.
Yeah, it's, if it doesn't happen on the gram, it didn't really happen in real life. So
That's what I always say.
So that's the context of who we are and who you're listening to. So
Yeah.
2010 for me.
Yeah, where were you in 2010?
I was living in Greenville, North Carolina. in a foreshadowing, the next 2 episodes are going to be Jackie's story more in depth, my story more in depth, so you'll get the context of what we're leaving out now. But I was living in Greenville, North Carolina. For those that don't know, that was considered Pro Town USA for the BMX freestyle community. Dave Mira and a plethora of talented professional BMX athletes live there.
If you can find the DVD, Pro Town BMX
USA.
That's right, Pro Town USA. It's a
good
one.
Great
Yeah,
mini
it's a
documentary.
good recap.
That's about it. Yeah, it's about an hour, so it's a documentary.
It's a full-fledged documentary. It's
I
pretty
had
dope.
a couple parts in there. Pretty honored to have that because
I don't even remember you from it.
I was 21 when we filmed that. Yeah, because 2010 I had just turned 21. November 2009 turned 21. So
That's so crazy.
2010. Let's see. So January 1st, I woke up hungover, packed for a road trip, a dream come true road trip. But that was the scene back then. You ride hard, you train hard, you party hard, and I packed a little tipsy / hungover and forgot all my warm clothes because I went to the Ohio, like the Midwest area for a week road trip with one of my idols looking up to in BMX when I was growing up, 15, 16 years old. And now fast forward 21, I'm on a road trip with him. His name is Danny Hickerson, and then a local buddy of mine, also professional BMX athlete, Chris Childs. And then let's see, there was Brandon Harris, another BMX athlete from the Midwest. And I believe it was just the 4 of us, and then Stu Johnson, the videographer, who was a legend in BMX. But anyways, we're on this road trip. First day, I got to go buy a bunch of warm clothes because I forgot all that. So that's how I started the year. And then moving into April 2010, I had brain surgery at Duke University. That was a result of a crash in March of 2010 where I hit my head and got knocked out and had to get an MRI.
Where did you go on the road trip?
To the Midwest.
Just for fun?
It was for a filming project. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was called Props. It's we were doing the Midwest.
How did that relate to
winter
what
trip?
you were talking
Because that
about?
was the beginning of 2010. That's
okay.
where I was 2010. That was the start of the year. Living the dream, like a dream come true. Stoked.
Oh, you were hungover from New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
thought that
understand.
was implied by the New Year's.
I thought you just said like January of 2010. And I was like, just another day in January.
But anyways, March 2010 hit my head. Training, got knocked out. Had a helmet on, of course, but got knocked out. Had to get an MRI. They accidentally found a brain tumor that led to the surgery. And then the rest of the year was focused on getting recovered, getting back to competition, and that whole journey, and just doing my thing, learning about nutrition a little bit, kind of scaring myself.
Yeah.
Yeah,
How long was your recovery, though? So, like, your surgery was in April, you said?
April 16th.
Yeah. And then...
Technically, it was 4 weeks. Went back for the MRI on the week 4. 4 titanium screws now in my skull, but bone fused back together in 4 weeks, which I didn't know. Took another week off just to, make sure everything was dialed in, and week 5, back on the bike.
It's just really interesting to, I think to look back and go, oh, I was graduating high school and doing all these things, and you were dealing with some of the most probably difficult times of your life, or at least, one of them. And it's just kind of funny to see where we were in our lives before we came together. But I think later I actually ended up moving to Fort Myers and trained from Daytona Beach, Florida. Yeah. So I moved to Fort Myers and trained with a coach named Toby Oliver. And he was a fantastic coach and one of the best in Florida. And I was like, oh, that's where I'm going to be. And it was weird. I literally decided my fate, on a phone call with a girl that I may move in with, in July. And I was actually sitting at a bar filling out a job application. And she texted me and I told her what I was doing. And she was like, why don't you live here? And I was like, I don't know. She was like, yeah, you should totally come live here. You could live with me and this and that. And 20 minutes later, I was moving to Fort Myers. And that's just how it happened. And that's just kind of how my life was at that time. But it was a really fantastic 3 years that I lived there. And then in 2013, I went to school at University of Central Florida that summer. And I kind of walked away from my sport of Taekwondo because I was training 6 or 7 hours a day. I was on the track to potentially do the Olympic team and stuff like that. If I had won the right events and if I had upped my training a little bit more and kind of made it my full-time job, like I was at least on that track. I don't know if I could have done it, but I was at least on that track. And so when you are in the athletic training program, it's essentially a full-time job. Like you're going to school full-time, plus you are doing an internship anywhere from 16 to 24 hours a week. But for me, that was more like 40 to 50, sometimes 60 hours a week. And it was so much fun, but it was probably one of the most stressful times of my life. I had broken up with a boyfriend that I dated for like 5.5 years. And I mean, good riddance a little bit, but so I was like living it up. I wasn't taking care of myself. I wasn't competing anymore. So I wasn't training. Like I'd maybe go to the gym once or twice a week, but so much alcohol in that house that I lived in with like really close, like family friends growing up and high school buddies, and just not taking care of myself at all. And that's when I started to really battle with extreme anxiety and panic attacks. Like that's when my life kind of got turned upside down a little bit. Like I was happy. I was doing what I wanted to do. I was accomplishing goals that I had had since I was 14. I knew I wanted to be an athletic trainer and I was finally in school for it, but I was so strung out all of the time, like just completely exhausted and stressed and dealing with panic and disordered eating and anxiety. And it was to like the point where I thought that something was wrong with me. Like I legit thought I was probably going to die in the next couple of years. I was like, something's wrong. Like something's happening. Where were you in 2013? Crazy. Yeah.
It's interesting. Yeah. 2013. Broke up with a chick that I was with for about 4 or 5 years. That was with me through the brain surgery and the radiation treatment that came 2 years after that, which is we'll save that for my story episode.
High five for breakups.
Yeah. But similar to you, so 3 years prior to the brain surgery, 2010, is when I first moved to Greenville, and I was 17. Dropped out of high school, went there, spent a lot of early years drinking illegally, and probably a little sooner than my brain would have liked. But let's see, that kind of progressed. Even after the brain surgery, it wasn't like this, oh, maybe I should be, not drinking and prioritizing my health a little bit more. It was like, oh, I'm back to, because like at the time, what I consumed was just energy. And I knew like, oh, it's probably not the best to go to McDonald's, but like still went there. Like it didn't make sense to me like it does now, because BMX isn't like a traditional sport where it's in the school system. So you're having coaching, you're having training and nutrition, brought up. It was like, everything I've learned today has been self-taught. Like I've gone out and, researched on my own, like gone through programs, but that all started out with books and podcasts and YouTube videos for years before I went through a health coaching program in 2014. But 2010, after the surgery, I got introduced to nutrition. That developed for the next 3 years. 2013, broke up with that girl, found out about this health coaching certification program. And to me, that was twofold. That was one, all this nutrition that I'm learning, this nutritional information, I'm like going far left on Google one way and then far right the opposite way in the same topic, and I'm confused. So that program was more of like, oh, it's going to give me the foundation, give me the stepping stones of what I should be learning, and it's going to keep me guided. Like it's going to keep me aligned. It's going to have like bumpers, but then also I can turn it into a business. I can help people. I can learn how to share this information in my story and combine them so that way people can learn in a more positive manner than going through the suffering I went through with, the brain surgeries, the radiation, the head trauma from accidents and concussions, and then the mental, at that time, I don't think I really dealt with anxiety. It was mostly stress financially, stress physically, stress of mentally of like, oh, I don't want to let my parents down that supported me on this, Really, fear of failure was a huge thing that weighed stress on me. And I remember Brandon, Brandon, but my best friend Brandon Christie told me one day in 2010, actually, I remember we had this conversation outside the house, and he's like, man, like, you don't have to worry about letting people down. Like, just do you. Like, don't be stressed about it. And it wasn't that easy. Like, that helped, but like that's always stuck with me. But 2013, I broke up with that girl, moved out to Holly Springs, North Carolina, about 15 minutes from us here in Apex. And as you know, Daniel Dares opened up a public facility out there May of 2014, but we moved all the ramps. Sadly enough, had to help in the teardown of Dave Mirra's ramps after he retired, and told Daniel he could take all the ramps. And we moved him out an hour and a half west to Holly Springs to open up a public facility for the pros and the kids to come and train. And I helped out with that and was a part of that. And then moved into 2014. 6 months later, got back with that chick, moved back to Greenville.
Just kidding.
Moved back to Greenville. We were together for a couple months, 4 or 5 months before broke up again.
Just didn't happen.
That was a whole nother story. But anyways.
Wait, so were you at Recon Tour in 2014?
No,
November
because 2014? I passed down.
That was my first official BMX event.
I passed down the invite to ride that contest because I was helping her and I at the time, move to another location for her at the time dream, and I was convinced I was done competing. I had this little thing in my mind about having to do things that other people wanted me to do that I was with because I wasn't successful enough in my field. So that's how that happened. And
that's
then,
crazy.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I don't remember meeting you, but I couldn't remember
there.
if you were there or not.
No. But then, things work out in funny ways because 2015.
Yeah. I graduated college. I got my bachelor's in athletic training from UCF. Go Knights. And I had my graduate assistantship with Trish Bear Grounds at Bear Essential Sports Medicine, which was located in Daniel Dare's Action Sports Complex
in Holly
Springs, North Carolina. And I was there for a little bit. Maybe, when did you come back from? Because you were in
September.
Ohio.
Yeah, I was
right?
gone for 3 months.
Yeah, doing shows out in Ohio.
It was beginning of September, end of August, beginning of September when I came back.
Yeah, so I had been there since like June. And Josh came strolling in and immediately had issues. I think the first day that I met him, I was cupping his shoulders and helping him work out knots and doing all this stuff. And yeah, you were a handful already. Yeah.
But I was the healthier of the BMX riders. Probably the healthiest as far as actions went, conscious decisions to be healthy.
And what's funny is that, in the BMX community, for whatever reason, he got made fun of so hard.
Still do.
For being, healthy. It was absolutely... He carried around this, glass jug. And I don't know why, but everyone just destroyed him for it. I was like, oh... I'm used to people carrying around gallon water jugs, but...
Well, the glass part might have been what threw people off. And that was just because I didn't feel like having nasty plastic chemicals seep into my water when I'm outside and the sun's beaming on it all day. That's what I remember getting a lot of shit for, was having the wine jug, as all the parents would say, you got some moonshine in there? I'm like, yeah, totally. You want your kids to try some? They should look up to me, right?
It's just grain alcohol.
Moonshine in between the sessions. But
yeah. So then Josh had been dealing with a knee injury for 2 years as well. And after I looked at it, I was like, you should get an MRI. And he was like, no.
No, I got the MRI.
But it wasn't from...
No, I got the MRI.
Oh, okay.
Because I tweaked my knee the last 2 weeks at that trip I was on.
Oh, that's right.
That was the last straw for me. And I was like, man, maybe I should get this checked out. Because I put it off for 2 years because I knew
it wasn't MRI,
what it was going to show.
No.
And then I knew what was going to happen. So I got the MRI in Virginia.
Right.
And then I met with you. And then that's when you helped me. You kind of persuaded me to have the surgery done that year. Because I was like, I'm going to wait till next year so I can compete.
We had to time it.
The end of next year. I was going to get it end of 2016 so I can compete 2016, but then we worked that out.
Yeah, we changed it so that he would get surgery essentially as soon as possible, like in that fall, like October, November.
It was November 10th because my stipulation to get it done in 2015 was before Thanksgiving because I did the math and I knew I could compete the start of the season, which ironically missed the first contest. So
you didn't know you could compete. You thought you could compete. And he was like, I can get back on the bike in 4 months or whatever. And we were like, okay, yeah, ACL surgery isn't really...
Mindset, people.
A 4 month... No, come on. Don't start spewing that because it take...
No, that's the seed I planted in my subconscious was telling myself, I'm going to be ready for this contest. Doesn't matter what time. I was respectful to the timeline. I wasn't like, in 3 months, hamstring graft, 3 months, I'm back on the bike. It was... No, I'll be ready for that contest in 6 months. Yeah. And to your surprise, you cleared me even a month sooner than that to ride.
I cleared you to be on your bike and for your wheels to not leave the ground or the ramps.
Subconscious seed blossomed into a beautiful flower.
And I got my ass chewed out because he decides to post a video after I cleared him of him launching himself off of the outdoor ramps.
Launching is a strong word for people that don't understand. This was basic professional level practice.
It's not what we agreed to. He was like, can you film this for me?
Top BMX athlete in the world is now just jumping the jumps.
Oh my God.
Basic. Full control, just cruising.
I can't.
Same speed as what I was doing before with the tires on the ground, but going in the air.
He's the most...
No spinning, no flipping, no tricks, just cruising.
Compliant athlete I've ever dealt with.
Say that again?
The most compliant athlete I've ever had to deal with. And what I mean by that is like, I'd be like, okay, Josh, this is what we're going to do. It's going to be 5 days a week. And he was like, no, I'm going to be here every day. And I was like, no, I don't think that's a good idea. You definitely need rest. Let's do 5 days a week. And a 10-minute argument later, we compromised at 6 days a week. And I had to essentially beg him or boss him around into taking a rest day on the 7th day. And he would still show up at the complex and just like be there and be like, what can I do? And I'm like, nothing. Like, you just sit around. Like, why'd you even show up? Or even before surgery, he was searching and YouTubing ACL surgeries.
Oh, those are cool.
And then just messaging me in the middle of the night, like, is this what my surgery is going to look like? Is this what my surgery is going to look like? And I was like, oh my God.
Just curious.
Like, what is happening? And he would do all of his exercises, except the exercises he wasn't good at. He would argue with me about why he had to do them. And then he would even go home and like research like what they did and didn't do and be like, I'm not doing V-ups anymore because
I found a replacement.
Yeah, I know. But even like the agility ladder, oh my gosh.
That was pretty fun.
Yeah, but if you want to see something like really funny, take a BMX athlete, like a professional BMX athlete they just look so graceful on their bikes. It's actually ridiculous. They look like little birds to me, the way they like perch up on things and everything. And it's so fun to watch. And then you just ask them to do something simple like a skip or an agility ladder, and they legit cannot do it unless like a bicycle is underneath them. They're not necessarily coordinated people.
Well, what's interesting about my background is I came from baseball and basketball, so I stopped that obviously end of middle school, beginning of high school, but I think I could I did pick those things up because same thing with training with Matt and in the gym. A lot of the things he was having me do, I was just so awkward. But it was because I hadn't done them in a while.
Absolutely. Like
but
they're definitely
a lot of the other riders I've seen, I'm just like laugh my ass off because I'm like, you look so much worse than when I started doing them.
I think that's a bit generous. I think you probably look just as bad. You just didn't see yourself.
But I got better.
Yes, you got better, and that was what was important. So.
But I mean, you could have worse problems as an athletic trainer with compliance of not wanting to do the work, which we saw a lot of people re-tear their ACLs in that same complex.
That's absolutely true. And it's frustrating because it's just people not wanting to put the work in or not listening. And it's like, no, you have to do certain things. You can't just ride your bike and expect your knee to be stronger the way you want it to. But that's
that same mindset now.
That's another podcast episode.
Yeah. But I've also learned about like the work ethic also comes with being really conscious and mindful of rest and recovery and de-stressing.
Yeah.
Because
for sure.
even in business, which I'm fully engaged in now, and I'm collaborating with people that are doing ridiculous numbers in business and reach and fulfilling their purpose and, you know, creating communities around them and their personal brands, let alone their business, you know, there's a lot of talk about psychology and mindset and stress reduction and meditation and recovering and making sure you're fulfilling your personal needs. And maybe there's some sacrifice for some time, whether that's time with your family and your friends, time for yourself, your health, your sleep, things like that, but it's temporary.
Yeah.
But then there's like, you can't do that forever.
Right.
Especially as we get older, you know, so there is that balance that I've learned, and that's why we're doing this, so we can share with people to kind of give our take on things, you know, relate, you know. Yeah. Go doesn't always work, or it doesn't always sustain itself, so
yeah,
got to reset the computer every once in a while.
Yeah. So for our rehab sessions, Josh would probably come and just hang out at the complex for like 3 or 4 hours. Mm-hmm. And within that hour was a rehab session. And he would either hang out with me in my little office area, or he would go hang out with the boys while they rode and film. Yeah, just like film for everyone. But he and I were just friends at that point.
We were more like brother and sister because we had the same personality.
I hate it when you say that.
Well, it's just kind of how it felt, like, because I had no interest in like trying to talk to you like that. Obviously, we were with different people at the time too, because you were dating someone, I was dating someone, on and off, things like that. But it was more of like I hadn't met someone of the female nature that was same personality as me, stubborn, sarcastic, not afraid to talk shit. And then we were also battling about the nutrition and then the fitness aspect of my knee surgery. And then
constantly bickering about everything, just constantly like at each other. But it was funny. Like, it was never serious.
Yeah, it was never negative. It was
nobody ever got butthurt. It was just funny. And you always used to piss off the guy that I was dating at the time.
You could sense the whatever you want to call it coming from me.
Chemistry.
Yeah,
pheromones. Something. But yeah, we were just good friends. He would talk to me about the girls that he would try and match up with on Bumble. Yeah. And I remember having conversations and I was like, no, she's not your type. And you're like, what?
You met a few of them.
I did. Met a few of them.
Some were cool, some were
I can think of a cool one. Like, just one out of the ones that I met.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was dope.
I don't remember which one that was, but it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, we won't name any names.
But that's where we were with our relationship. And that was for a good year. No, it was like, so November was surgery, but we were doing prehab before. So,
right.
So keep in mind the context of my injury was 2 years. I was still riding, competing on it. Now, I filmed a video called Racing the Knife about a week and a half prior to surgery, just
shameless plug,
going ham, trying to get all these tricks done. Some had never been done before. I actually filmed 3 tricks that had never been done before, and other tricks that I was a handful of people to do, but I had this list. I'm always about lists. I had this list, and I was like, well, fuck it, I'm having surgery tomorrow. I was filming up to the day before surgery. Yeah. And I was in the mindset, which that last day was where I filmed 3 of the tricks I was most scared of, 2 of which never been done, one of which Daniel, Colborne, Logan, and myself, I think, are the only, maybe a handful of other people now, but at the time, this was 4 years ago. 4 years ago. So I was like in the mindset of, well, I'm going to have surgery tomorrow, so if anything else breaks, like, I'll be in there, they'll fix it. I
don't know if any other athletic trainers or physical therapists or orthos or anybody is listening, but I can't explain how difficult it is as a healthcare professional to watch your athlete just eating shit. Like, he would show me the outtakes. Like, he wouldn't even show me the good clip.
I had to save it for the drop.
He would show me the outtakes of him, like, eating it. And I'm like, just trying to remind myself, like, it's already broke. Like, it's not broken, but it's essentially already broken. Like, he's already got a list this long of issues with his knee. I was like, what else can he do? And like trying not to flinch or just like, okay, like counting down. Like, he was okay.
Nothing happened.
But yeah. So I moved away from Holly Springs.
Let's see. So November was a surgery. you convinced me to go the hamstring graft of the hamstring, patella, or cadaver. Mm-hmm. Love that my surgeon was on board. Mm-hmm. Some other people disagreed, but we did the research. I did the subjective research with other athletes that had bilateral ACL surgery in BMX.
And
Same
I did
thing.
the objective research with some clinical trials
which I
and
read.
case studies. Yeah.
And then, was it a week before April that I got back on my bike? So it was a week shy of 4 months I started getting back on my bike.
Yeah.
May.
You were pedaling.
Competing.
Yeah.
Won my first contest back. Won the Dave Muir Best Trick Contest because actually that February Dave, unfortunately took his life. Later diagnosed with CTE. That's going to be a whole nother...
Yeah.
Him and CTE could be a whole episode of themselves. But I was just really motivated on this path to get back to competition. And I worked really hard with you to get my knee as strong as I could, my mind as strong as I could.
I would like to put a small disclaimer that BMX athletes are not the same as traditional athletes when returning to sport after an ACL surgery because their sport does not require cutting and lateral movement.
That's an excuse. We're just better.
Oh my God.
Just kidding.
We're just
no, definitely.
better.
If we had to cut and
That's what he
stuff, oh
said.
man, I'd be nervous to cut now still.
Yeah.
Like I get like that's the only thing I think about with my knee, and it's like we're almost this November will be 4 years out of surgery, and my knee is great. It's strong,
But
probably
you
better than it was
continued-
before. But
You continued your training though, like you were still competing, but we were essentially still doing rehab.
I'm just talking about now, like trying to cut, like doing things like back and forth. Like that's the only thing that I think about with my knee. It's like, I don't know how that's gonna be because I don't do it.
Yeah.
I did when I was playing sports, especially basketball, and doing suicides and just playing. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so
That was November 2015, and then
Fees was July.
good friends. He placed in the top 10 in the world throughout the Fees events that year. I was stoked for him.
But when did you move though? That was what, September or October?
August of 2016. So unfortunately,
October was China.
DDAC lost their funding for their medical staff, and it really changed the place. Like a lot of people felt really safe riding there and just like sending some stuff there, and it was just this massive facility. Like it was honestly like really, really cool to be a part of it. Like I felt really fortunate, and it brought a lot of amazing people into my life, like friends that I'm gonna have forever, and like somebody I'm like building a life with, so that's cool too. But like I moved back to Florida in August because I found a great job down in Tampa, and Josh and I just kind of stayed in touch, and we started talking every day, and I don't even know how it came to be. Like at first it was I broke up with this guy, and it was kind of like good riddance, and Josh was happening to stay at the same place I was, and we just hung out for a few nights that were just
I was in between
nice
places, and I was staying with Trish.
Yeah.
And
that's where I
We
lived.
just started hanging out and chatting more, and then
Yeah.
we were already pretty tight. Mm-hmm. And then you were going through that breakup, and then when you moved, we just kept staying in touch. We were like into the same music, into the same topics of different things, and just shared a lot of things. And
Yeah. I think I think it was Thanksgiving of that year, or even like December, we started talking. Like we talked for the first time. It was either Thanksgiving or Christmas, but like we talked every single day since then. Like I'm pretty sure you and I haven't gone a day without talking since 2016.
Yeah,
At some point, end of 2016.
And then March of 2017, we flew you up to visit.
I drove up.
Oh, you drove up that time?
I drove up that
Did
time.
you?
Yeah.
I don't remember that. Oh, well,
I
anyways.
remember driving.
Came to visit, and then that's when we
That's when we got together.
officially started dating.
Yeah.
And then flying back and forth once a month, twice a month.
Technically, that's not when we officially started dating, but that's when we count our relationship
But
to start, because that is when we officially started dating. But he didn't admit we were dating until like June. So
Yeah. It was
It
getting
took him a while.
complicated to explain our relationship besides saying,
he got over it,
yeah,
essentially.
so my girlfriend, instead of saying, so this girl that I'm talking to that I was friends with once, but now I'm more than friends with, I think, like, she lives somewhere else, but, like, it was just like, yeah, so my girlfriend. That was just easier.
Yeah, thanks. It was convenience rather than
It was all love, though.
or admiration.
You're still here?
I am still here. It's so funny because I remember my friend Lauren, I was talking to you every day, and she was like, like, of course, Lauren's very blunt, and she was like, who the F are you talking to all the time? Quit looking at your phone like a dumb idiot, like just smiling and laughing. And I was like, oh, it's Josh, this and that. And she was like, you like him? And I was like, no, like, no way. We're just friends. But I totally liked you.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Well, that's why we are where we are. And then let's see, it was December where I moved you in with me. I told you were going to move in with me.
Yeah, you did.
And you complied.
I did. I was compliant. Yes, I was.
And then
I remember you had convinced me that I was going to move in with you. And you hadn't even told me that you like loved me yet. Yeah, I think that was it. Like,
you didn't tell me either.
You didn't even tell me that I was your girlfriend or ask me or however people do that. It was like one day in June. And this is after him repeatedly telling me, like, I don't want a relationship. I don't want this. I don't want that. But I'm like, okay, he told me that we're exclusive.
And to be clear,
he
it wasn't
calls
to
me
hang
and
out with the
texts me
girls.
every
I was very
day.
open and honest about that.
Yeah, you told me we were exclusive
I was starting
in like
my
April.
business and all sorts of things. And
yeah, we hung out for the first time in March 23rd, like as more than friends. And then in April, you were like, just to let you know, we're exclusive, but it's because I'm really busy.
It's not how I worded it. I said, just to let you know, I'm not talking to other girls. I have no interest in other girls. It's just you. But I'm not trying to be in a relationship because commitment comes with that, which comes with expectations, which comes with titles.
Oh my gosh, stop.
I wasn't trying to get into that.
He literally told me we weren't in a relationship for months, but it
worked out.
We were exclusive. You called me every day.
Yeah.
You made a strong effort to come and visit me in Florida, constantly, and I was like, fine, if he doesn't want to call it a relationship, then it's not a relationship.
I knew what it was.
Whatever he wants.
I just didn't want to acknowledge the title.
And he didn't even ask me to be his girlfriend, as I was saying earlier, or whatever.
Did you find out through one of the videos I was making when I was doing
when I first
started the vlog?
On Instagram. You commented oh yeah, my girlfriend does this. And I remember I was looking at it, and we were laying in bed or something, and I was like, oh, that's funny. Who's your girlfriend? And you were like, don't be dumb. And you just left, and that was how I knew we were in a committed relationship.
And now we're here.
Now we're here. And then you didn't tell me that we were going to move in together. You didn't ask me to move in with you. I just came to visit, and you pulled me into your closet, and you were like, this is where you can put your stuff. And this is where you can put mine. And I was like, wait, why would I put stuff in your closet? And you're like, why would you live somewhere else?
But to be clear, you were talking about moving up here anyways.
Yeah.
And that's why I was like, we're already hanging out all the time. We're dating now. We're flying to see each other. We're spending time. Why not just live with me?
It didn't make sense. That's not what you said.
Instead of spending excess money to live by yourself, but stay with me, or vice versa.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, so
and now your cats are here.
Me and my cats brought us all up. We're good. We're cruising now.
Yeah. And now we're doing a podcast.
Yeah. That was 2 years ago. Now we're here.
I'm sure we'll talk about a lot more things in episodes to come of details we probably forgot, left out.
Yeah. But that's just our story. Yeah, that's how we met. That's how our lives kind of slowly merged together. It was kind of crazy.
Thank you, breakups and injuries.
Thank you, breakups and injuries.
Adversities.
Yeah. And alcohol.
Yeah.
That did the trick.
Yeah. Probably not though, but I don't advocate for the alcohol anymore.
I know, but I was real nervous the first night we hung out, so.
Yeah. It is what it is, but that is our story. That is how the Jacqueline Ray Lauricella and
Joshua Matthew Perry.
Glad that you caught that.
Yeah.
Came to be. And what's to come, we're not sure. We have our goals. We have our visions. We have our work we're putting in. And,
we're pretty sure.
Keeping up to date with, as much as we can take action on and manifest in our life. And that's what we're big components of is, my personal belief is our reality is a manifestation of our choices. And we've made a lot of choices that have led us to the current reality we live in. And we become more conscious of it and more aware, more mindful, and we're really conscious of our decisions now. And we're not perfect, but we're able to realign, keep each other accountable. And I think one of the favorite parts about our relationship is how different we are, but how similar we are to the fact that, I'll be here and you'll be there, but you'll help me come back to where I need to be, or you'll help me center and the cliche saying you're my yin to my yang, things like that. It makes sense, and it's something that I think I've never had in a relationship before, is being similar personality but similar perspective, but like so different in the sense that you're more chill and we'll say nicely procrastinator.
I'm good at procrastinating. There's nothing wrong with procrastinating if you're good at it.
I'm more type A, go getter. Let me get this done. What do I got to do?
No.
Some would say uptight, but I just know what I want and I'm not afraid to put the work in. And so for me, it's hard to chill, but Jackie helps me.
I'm really good at chilling.
And I'm trying to kick her in the ass a little bit more for the goals that she has.
Yeah.
Show her how it's sort of done. And
I think people just kind of expect relationships to be super, like either super easy or super dramatic. Like people are on both ends of the spectrum. Like they either think that there has to be like arguments and fighting and this and that, or that it's just going to be just this effortless thing.
That's another episode about the subconscious programming from our childhood.
I'm talking about relationships and ours.
That's the view. Oh, like what people think of our relationship?
No, just relationships in general. We're talking about our relationship.
That's what I'm saying. Like our relationship works. Like it's not like it takes work to be in a relationship. Like I don't like fuck that. I don't believe in that. I don't
understand.
I think it takes the right frame of mind and the right people on the right part of the journey to align and to be authentic and transparent and communicate exactly who they are and what they want out of life, which most people don't. But
bring your true self to the table. That would be my biggest piece of advice for someone who really found a person that they want to be with. Like that would be like, be authentic.
But you don't know who you want to be with until you know who you want to be, and you're open about that, and like you walk and talk your truth. I think that's another thing though. Like we weren't afraid to walk and talk our truth, and that truth, connected
it brought us
really
together.
well.
Yeah,
because we both been in other relationships where either us or the other wasn't entirely authentic.
Yeah.
Or legitimately hid stuff and then brought upon it, the truth months later. Like we can talk about that later on with me. But I think that's key. And the whole subconscious piece I was talking about, I've gone through that. A lot of people think relationships will be hard. It's got a lot of work and you're fighting all the time. But like that's built on their relationships that they saw as they were growing up. And for me, I saw that with my mom and my stepfather, but that turned me into the path I wanted to go instead of that. My father was a good role model because he was, not, that negative context.
Like when people are like, oh, relationships are hard. They're just really, really hard. And I'm just like, like we haven't been together that long, but I would say it takes work. I wouldn't say that it's hard.
I don't think it's either. I think it's just, you got to be you. And it's just like any relationship with business and like sports or school, like any relationship with another human, you could say it takes work or it's hard.
Yeah.
But
I wouldn't say it's hard though. I would say it takes
it's work. About communication and letting go of the ego.
Right.
I think that's the biggest thing. You and I don't have an ego for one another. Of course, we're competitive. We fuck with each other. But like at the end of the day, we love each other and we're not judgmental. Yeah. A lot of people are insecure in their being and they're judgmental of others as a result. And they're lying to themselves and their partner. Right. They're not being who they really are.
I heard something really interesting on Jada Pinkett Smith's Red Table Talk, and it was an episode about relationships, and they were talking a lot about past traumas and about how people enter relationships expecting the other person to like, oh, here's my baggage, love me in spite of this or because of this, rather than like taking the effort and the time to work on themselves and to identify like traumas in their life or issues in their life that had created this baggage and to overcome it and to fix themselves and to say, I'm going to grow even though I'm with this person. It doesn't mean I need to stop growing because, somebody loves me, I'm done, So I think that was really interesting. That would be a big piece of advice that I would give to someone. Like, don't bring your shit to the table expecting other people to fix it for you.
I think it was one of the biggest things that you and I were really on the same page from the beginning is like, you're not responsible for my happiness.
Yes.
And I am most certainly not responsible for making you happy.
Right.
We complement one another.
Yeah.
Happiness is within.
You definitely contribute. Yeah. You contribute to my happiness.
You can make it, more abundant, create your own happiness together, but it's not my shit isn't your shit isn't my
Right.
shit. Like, you gotta fix your shit, I gotta fix my shit, and we do a good job, keeping each other self-aware and
Checking
accountable.
each other's shit.
Yeah. I think that's what a relationship is, whether it's an intimate relationship like we have, or a friend, or a business partner, or a parent, or a family. Like, it's just supporting one another, being who you really are openly, and not judging them, and not expecting anything from them. I think expectations is I think that's the biggest thing with any relationship, is expectation.
Yeah.
You do something, you expect something in return. You say something, expectations kill everything. And when you openly don't have expectations, you just want to be a good person or be in a relationship and not want anything in return other than just mutual, love and respect and support.
Yeah.
That's an expectation, but it's not like, oh, you're responsible to make me happy. I'm not happy. Like, what are you doing? So
you can have expectations for yourself and things that you, like, I would call them boundaries more than expectations. Like, I have set boundaries with myself. Like, it's not acceptable for my partner to be unfaithful. Like, that's a boundary I have for myself. But, like, and I expect that of you.
We also are open about that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's part of communication.
Communication.
So what is, like, we'll end it with this. What is one piece of advice? So, because you were the guy that, like, liked the girl.
Swept you off your feet.
No, shut up. You were the guy that liked the girl, but, like, didn't want to be committed. Like, if you saw somebody else doing that now, like, they really liked this girl or guy or whatever, and they were the perfect person for them, but they were hesitating to kind of commit, what advice would you give them?
So it's just perspective. I was really clear on what I wanted for my life, and I was very open about that. So my advice would be to any piece of, or my advice for this would be to any aspect of life, is just be authentic, be open, and be clear, and if go with how you feel. I didn't feel like I could commit to something like that. That's why I was very open about, I'm, exclusive to you. I'm fuck, if you want to look at my phone, go through my phone. Like, I'm not talking to other people. I was upfront about that when I didn't need to be. We were dating. We weren't in a relationship. But I was very clear about the fact that I respected you, and I, enjoyed my time with you. I liked you. And I told you that too. I remember that. I was like, I didn't have the urge to talk to other people, the interest to talk to other people. I was thoroughly interested in you. But I'm doing a lot of new things. I'm focused on me. I'm focused on owning my life and being accountable for my actions and the reality I live in. So I don't want to commit to something that has an expectation. Again, I was communicating that, but I didn't know. I was just assuming. I was like, I know what comes with a relationship. And, if I don't want to talk to you one day because I'm working on this and I go right to bed, like, I don't want that to be a problem, because that was my past. I dealt with that. Yeah. So I was upfront about it. So, like, my biggest piece of advice would be, just treat the other person with respect, be open-minded, and just be you and be clear about who you are and why you're doing what you're doing. And if you don't want to be in a relationship, just let them know. But, like, you can't hide who you are and what you want based on what you think another person's gonna, like, you're not responsible for other people's feelings. Yeah. That's one of the biggest lessons I've learned with dealing with other human beings, is like, you're not responsible for any other people's feelings or thoughts unless you're deliberately hurting them. If you're just being you, walking your truth, speaking your truth, and it's out of love and you want to help people, cool. When it comes to a relationship, do what feels best. Don't go with what other people are telling you, whether that's the other person you're interested in or friends or family. So,
follow-up question. Did I exceed your expectations?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, that's what I wanted to hear.
I think that's pretty mutual. Yeah. I think we really enjoy ourselves together, and I don't think a lot of the things that you have done with me and for me I would ever have expected, and vice versa. Right. And I think that's the difference of being authentic and clear. And it goes back to, purpose and everything that I do outside of my relationship with you. It's like clarity and authenticity and purpose is the biggest thing. And my purpose with a relationship wasn't to seek comfort or happiness or this or that. It was to create a life together that was mutually beneficial in all aspects of love, happiness, creativity, exploration, like everything, and I think that's really big. What about you? Agreed. What's your biggest piece of advice?
What, in that similar situation?
Or just in general, when it comes to relationships, based on your like perspective of being with me compared to other relationships, and what's different and what you would do differently, and just, I guess, advice for someone, trying to be in the best relationship they can be what advice would you give them for making that happen?
Well, I had kind of formulated a little bit of a checklist after my relationship before you. Like, okay, these are definitely things I don't want, and these are things that I do want, and this is how I expect to be treated. Clearly. And I had high I get it. Yeah, you're right. It's great. Yeah. But I had higher expectations for myself. So, and if you find yourself in a situation where the person that you're with is saying, I don't know if I want to be in a relationship, let's just keep doing what we're doing, stay casual or whatever. If that person is meeting your needs and your checklist, then why walk away? If you were like, yeah, I want to do this, but I want to see other women, I would have walked away, because that's not something that that wouldn't have made me happy. Mm-hmm. That would have that would have driven me crazy. So I knew I couldn't handle it, and it wouldn't have been your fault, but it's just not something that I'm like, I'm not okay with that. So I can't, even like dating a couple of people at once, like that's just hard for me to do. I can't keep up with it mentally. I don't like to do it. So, I mean, if we have like an open talk about it, then that's one thing, but you know what I mean? So if they're meeting your checklist, then that's okay. Like if you're seeing other people and they're seeing other people, but you really like them, it's just not a great time, and you guys are both okay with that, then that's fine. Like, why walk away? Like, why take away from your happiness? I think people have certain expectations and ideals of what a perfect relationship should be, and then they try and force it, and then that also and more often does more damage than just letting it play out the way it's supposed to, or letting it play out in a way that makes more sense for your life. So a lot of people even split up for a little bit and then get back together, and it just works out. It works out for them, and just don't force it. Walk away when you're not happy anymore.
True. Well, that is episode 2 of the Gray Matters podcast.
The Deuce. That's what I'm going to keep calling it.
Giving a little insight into our story, and that was a little bit more of a long-winded episode. We're going to try and keep a lot of these long form, micro form, things like that, try and give you guys the best value, but this was more of a entertaining, just kind of learning more about who we are. And so appreciate all of you, appreciate the love and support, whoever who was just listening. We greatly appreciate your time that you chose to spend with us. And if you guys have any questions, any topics you want us to cover, or you want us to explain more about
topics,
give us some feedback. Follow us on Instagram. Jackie's is at JCIAKE. I am at Josh Perry BMX. There's 2 R's in Perry, and no, it's not Barry, it's a Perry.
Perry.
Yeah, we'd love to hear from you guys. We'd love to connect. Anything we can do to meet new people, bring value, share stories. We love it all. So, any last words?
No, I think you covered it all.
Awesome. So, thanks again. We love you all, and we'll see you in episode 3.
Yeah, stay tuned.
Peace.